Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters. And yes, we are back with a little bit of an update video here. Yes, Terrifier 3 weekend has come and passed. And boy, howdy, was it a success. Yes, we wanted to discuss a little bit about the Terrifier 3 box office, what kind of a importance this is, what kind of a monumental achievement this really is for independent horror, and maybe just discuss a little bit of what our hopes are for Terrifier 4. As I said to Luke when I asked him if he wanted to do this video, we're just going to try to milk this Terrifier teat one last time. So if you guys can like this video, subscribe, share it, we would appreciate it. But yeah, guys, this, all jokes aside, it is extremely impressive. I mean, going into this weekend, I have all this down here on a sheet. Projections for Terrifier 3 were already good. They were already huge. This looked like, I think initially they said something, I think about a week before, it was probably about $8 million is what they were thinking it was going to make. Then that number shot up to 11. And then by Friday night, they were saying 15. And now, coming out of Sunday, we knew that it had made about 18.7, I believe is what the number fell on. And now coming into Monday night, which I'm only including this because this is the most updated number. It's here. We might as well talk about it. The film is projected by the end of box office today to have made 20 to 21 million in a 4-day hold. And it's number one at the box office, number one film in America. Who could have seen this coming? I mean, absolutely insane. Luke, how do you feel about all this?
What a journey we are on. That's all I have to say, honestly. Looking at going back to that original Terrifier and our experience there, obviously we've released some videos, so you can check that out at your leisure. And now we sit here, fast forward to October 2024, and Terrifier 3 is number one at the box office. Even going back to Terrifier 2 and the effect that had on independent cinema and being able to bring those films to the actual theater and having, 1 weekend, 2 weekend, 3 weekends was such a big accomplishment. And I was so excited for that, being able to open up these new avenues for a lot of independent filmmaking. But then now you look at it, I never would have pegged this even a month ago to say Terrifier 3 is the number one film in America right now. Looking at, who knew what Joker was going to be when that had come out, and then it kind of that sharp decline that film had. But, standing, outside looking in a month ago saying, okay, Joker's easily going to be number one at the box office, probably for a couple weeks at least. But no, that sharp decline, Terrifier 3's sharp incline, just absolutely breathtaking, to be honest. I never would have guessed this. I am absolutely so happy to, again, Terrifier 2 effect. And what that did, I cannot imagine what Terrifier 3 being number one at the box office right now is going to look like for filmmaking for the next couple of years.
Yeah, and just for the breakdown here again, so this does not include what they consider pre-opening day sales, which would be your Thursday nights, which, I think that I am with many people who are just kind of like, well, Thursday night, that's when, if you want to see a movie, that's when everybody's going to go see the movie. I mean, like they stopped doing midnight screenings long ago. It's usually about 7, 8 o'clock. But it looks like, not including that, which I believe, I don't have that number in front of me, but it was about $2 million, I think. So it had already made its money back, essentially, or just about, on pre-tickets, on pre-event screenings. That turned into a Friday of 8.2 million, a Saturday of 5.9, and then a Sunday of 4.2 million. Now, I know some of you people are watching this and you're saying, I don't care about any of this. This is all just gobbledygook to me. Who cares? It's fascinating to us, especially being the folks that we are covering all of this independent horror. This is our Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. Like, when a film like Terrifier tops the box office, like comes in at fucking number one, which again, like Luke said, a week after Joker 2 drops, which I know Joker 2, a lot of people haven't loved that movie. It has really been unfortunate for the fans of that franchise that just didn't pan out for them. But nobody knew that going into this. You know, you would have asked us last month what we thought. We probably would have said, hey, if Terrifier cracks the top 5, that's a fucking win. You know what I mean? Like, that's where everybody was sitting at. If this movie ends its run at making $20 million, because again, looking at Terrifier 2, that movie made, I think, about $15.8 million out of its entire run. And that thing stayed in theaters for months after its initial release. So, I mean, the fact that it surpassed 2's entire box office haul in 3-4 days is absolutely insane.
Yeah, again, we never really would have guessed that. And to be honest, the only thing that I was looking for is when the box office was released, it was that Terrifier 3 was going to be somewhere in that top 10. It was going to give me the warm and fuzzies just to be able to see it up there against a lot of bigger studio films. But to have this come in at number 1, and it's a pretty wide margin. It's not like 1 or 2 million. We have a pretty good distance here, which was just, again, it caught me off guard completely. And what does this look like? This is going to open up so many more doors in terms of already independent creating projects, and as well as kind of studios taking a risk in those new properties and trying to get something off the ground here. At least I hope so, of being able to say, hey, look at Terrifier, what Art the Clown was able to do. And when you go back to All Hallows Eve and how low budget that film was, where it all really did start, and looking at those shorts that Art the Clown was part of, and then you fast forward to 2024, and the cinematography, just the construction of Terrifier 3, and how official that film feels, but also has that punk rock DIY feel to it. So I'm hoping that a lot of studios will look at this and take note and say, this property was not a huge talking point when the original Terrifier came out, at least in general audiences. In the horror space, it's been a pretty decent conversation overall. But this wasn't something where there weren't TikToks, there weren't memes of Art the Clown back in 2016. But now he's all over the place. We just walked into Walmart and you got an Art the Clown lamp. It's just astounding of the trajectory that this little independent horror property has taken, and it's just something that a huge win for horror fans. I think it's a huge win for independent filmmakers and anyone who's sitting behind their desk with an idea in their head and just itching to, type out a screenplay of something where I'm hoping a studio is going to take a risk. So I think, yes, some of these numbers may not interest, a lot of horror fans, whatever, just people who go to the actual theater. But when you look at that and just stand back and say, well, this opens up so many doors, and who knows what unique properties we can get in the next 3 or 4 years, who knows, and the people that could take a chance on that. I think, that has me the most excited to say Art the Clown's the poster boy right now. He's leading the charge, and hopefully we get some really intriguing filmmaking here in the next few years.
And, one of the pieces here before we move into just talking about the future of this franchise that I found very interesting in this Deadline article, I yanked this out. Deadline spoke with the boss of Cineverse, so basically the CEO of the company there. And he said, you have to be incredibly creative and different. You can't downsize a traditional studio playbook. You have to go to extraordinary lengths, and you need to get creative. There's a wave going on here. Terrifier 3, the Crunchyroll films, and even last year's Godzilla -1. These films can find their target audience on socials, spend very little and effectively convince them to spend their money and come out to the theaters. And then they do reference that Godzilla -1 was also made on a budget of about $5 million. Granted, that was over in Japan, so that's the conversion rate there. But it was able to pull in $56.4 million in the US alone, which that's absolute insanity. And, Terrifier, I don't think it's going to get to 56 by the end of its run. I mean, Godzilla is a global brand. It is something that's been around for, we're talking close to 60 years. And I think that it's just like, this is something that, you know, it just goes to show that I think there's some truth in those words. I think that if you have an audience and you rally behind that audience, I mean, they even shout out the Art the Clown Appreciation Society in the credits, Damien Leone, David Howard Thornton, Lauren Lavera, they're always, willing to get into these social media groups, Twitter threads, things like that, and talk with their fans. They have cultivated this audience, and this audience is ready and willing to show up and support their projects. And I think that's so special. And that's something that, not only did we do that, you guys did that. All of the horror alum that we speak with. I mean, I did a spoiler review with Evan and Cody Leach over the weekend. We talked about Terrifier 3 spoilers, and all we had to say was just how much we love not only seeing these films, but supporting this team because of how supportive to us they are, how much they get down and dirty with us and just talk horror. They are horror fans at the end of the day.
It's certainly an odd occurrence, I think, to look at the fan base for Terrifier, Art the Clown, and realize how big that it has grown since that original film and where we're at today, but really has maintained that close-knit community of sorts where everyone shows up. You mentioned Art the Clown, you mentioned Damien Leone. Hey, we had Stream come out, and just the support that film had, where it didn't have the track record that Terrifier had. It didn't have Art the Clown. It had David Howard Thornton in it, but not as Art the Clown, and everyone showing up for that and being excited to see what that film is going to look like and say, hey, this isn't Terrifier, but this is a property that is a sister property of sorts, and how exciting that was. And, kind of getting that Art the Clown little fairy dust sprinkled on it and saying, we're gonna push this property as well because we're excited about it. It's something new. It's something fresh. Yes, it's a smaller property, but we really want to go out and check this one out. And I think that is heartwarming to really just understand how excited the fan base is, how close-knit they are, and how really they're eager to go out and support. I jokingly mentioned the Art the Clown lamps, but we had the VHSs a few months ago for Terrifier 2, and how exciting that was. And yes, we're both part of Art the Clown Appreciation Society, and seeing how hard those were to get and how they were popping up online for really high prices, and then people going out and saying, well, I bought an extra one, I'm selling it sticker
At
price
retail. Yep.
just so that, us fans can have these and enjoy them. And I think, that's the DNA that we absolutely love, where it hasn't lost it. From Terrifier to Terrifier 3, that audience has maintained that close-knit community. And, I see that. I expect everyone to show up for Terrifier 4 as well.
Again, look at those popcorn buckets too. I mean, those are something where it's like, we made that happen as a collective, as a unit, as a team. Everybody said, wow, this would be amazing, and they went out and they made them. They are not out yet. I mean, obviously they couldn't get the everything going that quickly, but we have popcorn buckets, official ones, on the way. But even just look at what the 3D printed and hand painted ones that have been there. Dare I say, those are better than even what we're getting mass produced. I can say with 100% certainty, no shade to Damon Leone and crew who got that through. We appreciate it. But Jesus Christ, the ones that I have seen online, the ones that we've been tagged in on Twitter and Instagram, they are so gorgeous. And it's like, if I had the extra $150, I would have totally gotten one. You know what I mean? It's something where it's like, I hope they keep producing them so that way one day maybe I can, because it is great. And, it's lovely to see people, again, in the Arts of Clown Appreciation Society, who got them, who filled them with popcorn and showed pictures of them there. It's like, you're living a dream there. You're validating a dream, And again, we're big merchandise people, we're big numbers people. At the end of the day, we have a lot of fun with this stuff. I know some people, again, feel this is cringy or not really up their alley. We like this stuff. We live and breathe movies, and box office is a part of that culture. And I got to say, another thing about it is just that I went hoping, because I didn't go out and I didn't get a cup and I didn't get a bucket, but I tell you what, opening night, I was really crossing my fingers as we got in that popcorn line. I was like, man, I hope they still have buckets and cups. Everything was stocked full for Venom, for Smile, everything that has a fucking popcorn bucket or a thing, it was there. Except the Terrifier 3 ones. Completely sold out. Ask the lady at the checkout stand. We sold out of those. Literally the last ones we had this morning. Like, all gone. And it's like, that's what it is, man. You gotta get on it. And that is the support that this film franchise has garnered.
Absolutely. There's nothing like it. I mean, what we saw David Howard Thorne, I just saw 2 articles, him popping up at a Spirit Halloween and a Spencer's dressed as Art the Clown. And it's like, where do you ever get that with a franchise where someone is who actually plays that character so eager to go meet fans and spend a day and just hang out, and all of them just randomly popping up at these screenings of Terrifier 3. I mean, it's so exciting to be part of that community, to just know that the creatives behind it aren't looking to make a buck. They really enjoy the property, they enjoy the fan base, and they want to actually converse and hear those voices and understand what opinions are and where we want to take the franchise. I think that's just so exciting.
Absolutely. But all right, we're going to talk very briefly here. You know, I think we definitely want to discuss that news, celebrate some more Terrifier 3. But I do want to get Luke's opinions here. I just want to pick your brain a little bit, sir, on what you think the future of Terrifier looks like. And more specifically, where do you think that we're going to go? You weren't a part of the spoiler conversation. You had what, a birthday or something that you were celebrating that night or whatever.
Something lame.
Yeah, you were off doing your thing, and it's we didn't really get to hear your side of it. So I want to give you the floor a little bit to hear what you expect, what you're looking for. So I will post it right here just so everybody knows. If you haven't seen the film, what are you doing? Get out there, go see it. But for those of you who have, we're going to get into some minor spoilers for Terrifier 3 at this point and through the rest of the video. So Luke, after seeing Terrifier 3, where we leave off with Sienna, where we leave off with Art the Clown, what are your hopes going into Terrifier 4?
Well, looking at that, where we did leave off with Terrifier 3, I think, there's so many questions of what Terrifier 4 is going to look like. I think Damien Leone came out and said that Terrifier 4 was probably going to be, we're going to have this epic showdown. It's going to be a little more experimental. I think it's the word that he used in comparing to the other installments. Now, looking at that film, and we are going to spoilers, like Dylan said. I don't think Jonathan's dead. I think he is. I think they have him, but I don't think he's dead. So where my headspace is with this is Gabby apparently went to hell with Sienna's sword. Sienna's still on Earth, and Art the Clown's roaming around. Now, just from, I guess from a writing perspective, just from watching these films, I don't know necessarily if Gabby, because she was introduced, is a strong enough character for us to kind of sit with. So I think we're going to have almost 2 separate stories of Sienna trying to get to hell while Gabby is in hell and trying to get out of hell. She has Sienna's sword, so I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. And of course, at the end of Terrifier 3, what's the lady reading on the bus? The Ninth Circle. We all know how the Ninth Circle goes, where there are more than one character stuck in a room. Now, when Gabby gets to hell and they have her, who do I think is going to be in that room? I think Jonathan's going to be there, because I don't think she's necessarily going to be a strong enough character for us to lean on throughout the film, but I think her and Jonathan will be a strong enough duo for us to kind of get behind that idea while Sienna is trying to get down there as well. And, when Damien Leone uses that word experimental, I think that's kind of what he means is, you can't really present hell in a fashion of on an original Terrifier budget. But as we're getting in, Terrifier 3's number 1 at the box office, obviously that's probably going to mean bigger bucks for that 4th installment. I think maybe that's the time we pull that trigger and we revisit the Ninth Circle and we kind of get that story, because clearly he has an idea that he wanted to do back during that short. I think he's going to be able to realize that in Terrifier 4. So I think it's going to have a different flavor. I think it's going to have a different feel than what we've seen in these past installments because we're going to have a bigger budget. I think the logical idea is at least not necessarily the entire fourth installment in hell, but I think we're going to see a good deal of it actually in hell.
I love it. And, you know, you're not too far off from what we were saying with Cody and Evan. I mean, we were all kind of speculating. We all agreed that we were just going to kind of bask in what 3 has to offer right now, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, you know, because it's so easy for us to go and, you know, as fans, to spin our own little webs, spin our own thoughts and feelings. And, you know, I think that, you know, if Marvel and things like that have taught us anything, let's just not do that. Let's just kind of let it come as it goes. But I mean, with these comments over the weekend about it being an absolutely epic showdown, he says some really, really crazy things will happen in the next one. Absolutely, you're correct. I think that it will certainly, if not mostly, I think that a good chunk of it is going to take place in the underworld, hell, whatever you want to call it, or at least have some form of that crossing into our world. Now, I don't know any more details or really where to speculate at it right now, but I would definitely say that another point that was brought up in that spoiler thing that I could easily see happening is we already heard hints towards it that Jonathan was a big reason why people believe that Sienna at the end of the day did not murder all of these people, because a lot of people thought because she was kind of losing her mind that she was, you know, responsible for it. And I think that she's going to certainly be on the run a bit in this next one, or that she's going to be, you know, at least wanted in some form of way. Cody brought up a really good point to where it's like, what if you had like a detective character get introduced who maybe had worked on these supposed Art the Clown murders that we kind of got that reference to, and maybe he starts kind of piecing everything together and realizing maybe these two are converging somewhere. So it's kind of like, you know, I think there's a lot of ways you could do it, a lot of really fun ways you could naturally kind of, you know, bring this story to its climax and have not only a satisfying, we understand who Art is, what his backstory is, to, again, I say to an extent, I don't need every single detail figured out about Art the Clown personally, but I think that I would like to at least get some definitive answers as to what exactly is going on with him. And then also, just like you said, Sienna gets down there, gets her sword back, gets Gabby. If Jonathan's still alive, gets him. But also, Cody brought up another good point. The armor that we see being built in there is her real armor. So we got to remember the armor she wore in Terrifier 2 was a costume. So what if she actually gets the real Valkyrie armor? It's like, it's all set up. It's all in front of us. We just have to wait and see. And hopefully we don't have to wait too long. Maybe 2 years, hopefully. Cross our fingers.
I'm waiting. I'm excited. We're still riding that high from Terrifier 3. This was just absolutely epic news. I think, you know, we're both eager to see it again, even though we've seen it twice already. But, you know, that story does not get old. It's making a play. I think, honestly, Terrifier 3 has edged out Terrifier 2. That theatrical experience was just on a different level, especially when you watch something for a review and then you're able to just watch it at your leisure. It's two separate experiences. And I got to say that second viewing just absolutely amplified it for me. So I am just eager, just like everyone else, to see Terrifier 4 and what they're going to cook up for us.
100%, man. I love it. And yeah, I mean, I had great satisfaction. I love the experience of experiencing the bedroom scene for the first time, and just a what the fuck moment that was in 2. And I do. But I gotta say, it was a completely different animal walking in and knowing what all the kills were, knowing what all the moments were. And I gotta say, the bar scene, just my excitement, knowing everybody's gonna laugh their fucking asses off here in a minute. And it's still, I think that's my favorite scene in the entire movie. Above all the kills, above all the gore, that bar sequence, I love it so much. I love seeing Art the Clown just get so giddy about Santa Claus. It's everything I love about that character. And then, yeah, I mean, how it ends, intense as hell as well. I love it. You know, it's great. And yeah, just seeing all that, the rat scene. I mean, I looked over and I didn't watch the scene when we saw it in theaters. I looked over and I watched Jake, I watched Haley, I watched everybody's faces who had not seen the movie. I even saw you and Zoe. You guys had a big old smile on your face. just because we all knew, the three of us, what the fuck was about to happen, and it's nuts. So
Oh my gosh, what an experience! So exciting. I wish, again, we talked about wanting to bottle that, and the feelings we had for Terrifier 2, just bottle that night up so that we could, have it. Honestly, same with Terrifier 3. Completely different experience than 2, but absolutely just as enjoyable.
and I'm gonna put it here right now. I said it. I think in the spoiler. It was after that. It seems like the trend has been they're going to do world premieres at Fantastic Fest. As you guys know, it's our favorite festival to cover every year. I say, Luke, no matter what happens in our lives, obviously circumstances will apply, but we need to get our asses to Fantastic Fest for Terrifier 4 premiere. I think especially if it's the last one, we need to go. If that's our first live Fantastic Fest, so be it. But I think we need to go there. We need to experience it at least once at that festival, if not ever again.
I'm 100% down. We'll both dress up like the Pale Girl, and, it all will be well with the world.
I'm going to dress up as Smokey. That's who I'm going to go as. So,
Perfect.
Alrighty, guys. That's everything we have to say about Terrifier 3. Again, anything could happen. We could have a teaser trailer tomorrow for 4. Highly doubt it. But, it's one of those things where we'll keep our ears to the ground. We'll keep tracking this. Definitely follow up with me next Monday for Beyond the Splatter Graves with our boy Evan and Alex. They will definitely be talking some news. I'm sure we'll have an even better look at what the second weekend of Terrifier 3 is. Expect, just so everybody knows, again, box office game, expect a pretty big drop off. You're going to see a lot of reports because they love doing it, where it's probably going to be like a 60-70% drop off, just because a lot of that big first rush, and it's not a huge film. So expect that, but it should hold pretty well. I think if it's at 50 or under 50%, it'll be a miracle. But I say if it's 60% drop off, then we're doing pretty good. So that's where I sit with it, at least. So, alrighty, guys, it's gonna wrap us up here. So until next time, I'm Dylan Newell,
and I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.
Do the hard shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast, gonna smash your ass. Splattercast, gonna smash your ass. Splattercast, gonna smash your ass. Splattercast, gonna smash your ass.